it's the red button and the blue button. We discussed it on the remnant, and everybody knows this. We can go into it more detail in a minute. He wasn't able to discuss it at the time, but I wasn't sure if there would be enough meat to make an entire stream out of just that. So we're deciding, okay, well, we can do that for like one half of the stream. Then the later half of the stream, we can do a reaction to some communist. I just found some random video to do like a response to. So that's what we're doing. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to still stoop to using goddamn Discord's shitty YouTube watch together thing, because that's why the stream was late, because I was trying to get my Jellyfin server working, which it was working before, and it'll be way better when I finally get that up and running. But I wasn't able to get it working, so I was like, okay, I'll update, and it was taking like way too long to update, so I had to just call it off and then start the stream. So apologies for that. But anyway, Acorn, I suppose introduce yourself for those who are not aware.
I mean, I'm not sure how to introduce myself. I guess I call myself an anarcho-capitalist and objectivist student. I'm mostly like, I call myself a student because like, I haven't done too much of the reading yet, so I don't feel comfortable like calling myself a proper objectivist scholar yet, and I do need to get more reading done. But I do like thinking about these philosophical problems, and especially this red button and blue button one. It's something that I've been thinking about similar stuff from before I even properly studied objectivist philosophy, and I guess I'm curious like to see how we can apply like our current model of philosophy to this problem, and also it's like that's the reason I'm really excited about this question when it first appeared around May. But I was too busy at the time to actually join in the conversation. But there are a few arguments that I've seen you make, Zulu, that I disagree with, and I think that there are some blue button arguments that can be made better. So I'm hoping to do that here. A quick background on like my interactions with the button question. Like, I'm technically a blue buttoner because I was checking X just as I woke up that day, and I was still groggy, and I thought it was just one of those, insignificant and fun questions. So I didn't really read the question properly, and just went, "Hey, let's all live," and press the blue button. And so that was on like Tim, I can't remember his surname, but Tim's post. And then I saw your post on it, and you were talking about how it's obviously you should pick red. So I reconsidered the question. I was like, oh right, so that's what the buttons do. And then like, yeah, so if this exact problem actually happened in real life, I think red is the correct option, because the vote was really close, and like, since it's a Twitter post, right? So like there's lack of actual consequences. The answer would be biased towards blue. So in real life, like blue is very likely to die. Although, even though I'm a red buttoner for this specific scenario, I don't think we should limit ourselves to investigating this specific question, but try to uncover the underlying principles of how to analyze similar problems. And yeah, so that's what I'm here to do.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, yeah, so obviously for like a background on my position on this, compared to yours, he sounds kind of I mean, Eduardo seems to be having problems with your mic. It seems fine. I don't know. It sounds fine to me. Yeah, I think you're just pointing out that he doesn't have like a big, expensive XLR microphone. Like he's just got a regular person's microphone, unfortunately. I think it's fine for these purposes. Unless I've got some crazy filter on there, which I don't realize, and then I will listen back to this and go, oh, that sounds like shit.
I probably do need to update my microphone though. Like it doesn't seem like it's falling apart, although sometimes it just completely glitches out and I say something when it's not muted and nobody hears me, and it's just very random sometimes. So yeah, I definitely need to get a new one.
Yeah, but so anyway, my position on this is, I've got it up on screen here. Everyone in the world has to take a private vote by pressing a red or blue button. If more than 50% of people press the blue button, everyone survives. If less than 50% of people press the blue button, only people who press the red button survive. Which button would you press? My take on this is that red is the only rational choice, because red is in fact opt out. That's what red means. It means I'm not playing this suicide game. Blue means you're joining a suicide pact that only triggers if the suicide pact doesn't get big enough. I think it's irrational to even entertain the idea of joining this suicide pact. And I also don't think that it would necessarily, that blue is going to win in real life or anything. But there are many arguments that people have had over the... Now, Chronic's mic was always like, this is not Chronic, Novel. This is Acorn, completely different accent.
I accept a compliment, though. I like Chronic, he's a great guy.
Yeah, what sorts of arguments? Because I don't remember all of the discourse from the time. What were your, like, kind of, the arguments I was making which you had a problem with?
I've got a few on the list, but I first want to start with just less of a argument that you've made, but like on the question of the general validity of this hypothetical situation. So like in this thing, it says everyone in the world has to take a private vote by pressing a red or blue button. Is this like valid as a hypothetical? Do we need to flesh out the mechanism, like if it's natural causes or murder, of like how will they die?
So I mean, I don't think it necessarily. So because the question doesn't say murder, if it says murder, all those people are murdered, well, then I think it's a different kind of hypothetical, because then it's asking a legal question. Whereas I don't think this is asking a legal question. I think people are mistaken when they're reading this as a legal question. From the hypothetical, all we know is that pressing blue causes you to die unless enough other people press blue. So that's just, I don't necessarily think you need to know how blue kills them, just that if you press blue, that will cause you to die.
Okay, got it. So one thing that you've okay, so now I'm going to the argument that you've made. So you've said that this is basically comparable to like a death gamble, right? Like pressing blue is what kills you. And I've seen this like meme on the internet where it's basically reframing the question as blue is the ultimate death gamble. Like press it, and it's like lots of dramatic flair around it of like, oh, this is such a cool looking thing. And like if you press it, unless 50% of other people press it, you die. And red is just a really boring, just nothing happens button. And I do agree that functionally this is what the button does, but I do think that this is not the same question, like in terms of like what you should do in this situation, because in the case of the death gamble machine, it's the difference in presentation, and because of the presentation as the death gamble machine, there will be a lot more red buttons in the automatic death gamble scenario, as it explains to the midwits what the buttons actually do, so that will change the outcome. Do you think that matters at all?
No, because I definitely agree that if you change the presentation and if you actually explain to really stupid people what these buttons literally do, that more people will click red, which kind of indicates that perhaps red is the correct choice there. If you explain more deeply what the buttons do, then more people end up clicking red. So I don't think it matters. I don't think you should take the death gamble when you're not. So there's two sides to this. I don't think you should take the death gamble. Given that that there's plenty of idiots out there who will also take the death gamble because of the way it's presented, and they're not as smart as the people watching the stream or you or I. There's also the other aspect to it, which me and Monhop pointed out in our Remnant episode, is that there is no strategy you can implement where you will ever switch the where you'll ever switch the results from the blue people dying to the blue people not dying. You simply will never be in that situation, because this is one single trial of this vote. You've only got this one trial, and given the number of people, we calculated it out at the time. I can't remember the exact numbers, but it is vanishingly low odds that in that trial you're going to be the swing vote, because it's only if you're the swing vote. That's the only instance where it is possible to save the blue people where they would otherwise die. That's the only situation. So I don't think the fact of how you frame the question, and that will cause there to be more blue people than otherwise, I don't think that should have any change on your strategy going into it. The only thing, the way you should think about it is the only thing you can influence is whether you maybe die or definitely don't die. That's the only thing you can influence, and of course you pick definitely don't die.
Okay, so I understand that the probability of you being the swing vote is basically 0. Okay, so I've got a counter hypothetical to you, and I'm curious to see if you'll bite the bullet on this one or not. I actually saw someone on the Remnant podcast mention the Martians once, and I was really worried that they beat me to my idea, but luckily they didn't. So here's my version of the Martian hypothetical. What if the Martians came to Earth and gave people the choice to either give up a penny as tribute to them or not? Unless 50% of people choose to give up their wealth, like that one penny, the Martians will blow up the Earth. Should you give up your penny? Same scenario where no communications are allowed. It's just one trial. Like, the aliens come to Earth.
Okay, so more than 50% of people have to give up their penny in order to prevent the Earth from blowing up.
Yes.
Okay, then yeah, I think it's rational to give up the penny, because that is an infinitesimally small detriment towards you. And you can definitely get a loan for a penny from any reputable person. I think. I mean, let's just assume for the sake of it that either it's the case that everybody on Earth is capable of getting a penny, or at least enough people are capable of getting a penny, or it isn't. If it's not the case that enough people are capable, then there's no strategy I can implement to save my life.
Let's just say that every person has access to at least one penny.
Yeah. Okay, so then, yeah, you definitely give up your penny, because your life is on the line.
But this seems to contradict your earlier point about how it's basically impossible for you to change the outcome of the vote. And same thing here. Like, you are one vote in like the billions of people on Earth, and the chance of you being the swing vote is basically zero. Like, it's so like, I think one hop on the stream gave the example of how, like, even if you just the probability of picking a random atom out of every atom in the universe, like, it still pales in comparison to that. And actually, when Monhop was doing the calculations on ChatGPT, he was doing a 50-50 coin flip thing. Like, the probabilities get drastically even less, like, when it's not 50-50. Because,
Yeah.
like, obviously, like, in this case, it won't be people flipping a coin to whether to give away their coin, right? So even if you are Elon Musk, right, and you are a trillionaire. Oh yeah, the news just broke recently that Elon became a trillionaire. Yeah, so even if you are a trillionaire, like Elon Musk, and I said penny, but let's just say what about a cent, because he's an American, right? So it'll be 1 out of about 100 trillion percent. Sorry, not percent, just fraction. It'll be 1 out of 100 trillion. That will be the percentage of his wealth that Elon Musk would be giving away. But the chances of him actually swinging the vote is like very, very, very below even that. So essentially, why would you give up a penny if it doesn't change the vote of determining whether you survive or not?
So the way I see it is, in Monhop's example of picking out like one atom from a pile of like trillions of atoms, if someone's got a gun to your head and it's like, hey, run that random number generator. If it comes up 1, then you live. If it comes up any other real number, up to 50 quadrillion, then you die. It's like, well, okay, I might as well, you know, because I consider losing a penny as basically not losing anything at all. Maybe you could make the costs high enough to where it's like, yeah, no, don't bother. But it's hard to see how you can make the costs high enough because, I mean, your life is on the line here. I think that's the difference, is that your life is already on the line. It's not you choosing to put your life on the line for this infinitesimal chance that you change anything. It's your life is already on the line, and you've got this infinitesimal chance to save yourself.
Okay, so would you say that even if the aliens demand everything you own, like 100% of your wealth, and like it offers this to everyone, so everyone either chooses to give 100% of their wealth or they don't, like even if 99% of their wealth is equivalent to not giving anything at all to the aliens. So everyone needs to either give 100% of their wealth to them or not, and it's still the 50%. If 50% of the people living on Earth give 100% of the wealth to the alien, then the aliens won't blow up the Earth of either will. Would you say that you should give away all of your wealth, even in this case?
So I think it probably depends on your situation. So if you're so like for me, I'm still fairly young, so I can still have a life to like build up. You know, if I got wiped out, all my finances were immediately set to zero right now. It would suck, definitely. But I would have a chance to, like, you know, get a job and start building up again in this, like, I suppose, post-apocalypse. That would be, because all capital gets wiped out. So I think from my perspective, I would be like, yeah, I'll give up all my money to try and survive, assuming that I'm, like, you know, reasonably confident that the aliens can indeed follow through on their threat and so on and so forth. But maybe there are other situations you could be in where it's like, no, if I get wiped out all my money now, then I'm as good as dead anyway. Like, I'm fucked from that point forward. Maybe some people could be in that situation.
So what would be the standards of judging if you are in that situation or not?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I could give you anything too concrete there. It seems very. I've only got vibes as far as that's concerned. I haven't thought this through well enough.
Do you think it is a continuum problem of, like, that on one end you should always give away the 1 penny, and on the 100% of your wealth case, it's like, okay, it depends on, like, what would happen to you afterwards.
Well, so I don't think it's necessarily there is a principal difference between the two. It's just that giving up the penny is such a low cost that I can't imagine anybody where their life is completely destroyed and they can never achieve any values any longer if they give up a penny. Like, I can't imagine what type of person that would be.
But based on the argument that like you can't change the vote, it's basically giving away a penny for nothing. Because like you say that you consider giving away a penny nothing, but like giving of like the chances of you changing the vote is like less than that even. So what if you just like switch it up slightly, like not to all of your wealth, but just like £1,000, let's say, or even like percentage-wise, so it applies like roughly similarly to like people of all different wealth. Let's say you give away 50% of your wealth, so you would still live, but it will severely like hinder your living standards. Like, would you give away 50% of? Should you give away 50% of your wealth for the basically zero chance of actually changing the outcome of whether you live or die?
I mean, maybe not. Like, I'm not sure where the correct line is on that. It definitely seems like the amount that you're giving up definitely does matter. Because you can imagine on like one reduction case where you're not even having to give up any money, you're just having to give up an opportunity. Namely, you have to wave your arm in the air, and if more than 50% of people wave their arm in the air one time, then the aliens go, "Oh God, they've got arms. This is scary," and then they bugger off. Like that would be. It is. I cannot imagine that being like any sort of a debilitating opportunity cost on anybody. That seems like perhaps even less of a cost than a penny. And you can like keep going and going and going. Like the aliens want to pick up your trash. And it's like, hey, let us pick up your trash instead of the city this week. Or else, if 50% of people refuse, it's like, okay, yeah, sure, go ahead. Like trash is in fact a disutility upon me. So yeah, get rid of it.
I do think that is a relevant distinction. Then, like if it changes through a minor, like you lose a minor utility into you losing a disutility. I think that there is a fundamental difference there. Of like, of course, you want the aliens to take away your trash if you don't want the trash. Of course, if you want the trash for some reason, then it's no longer disutility. But I do think that matters in hypothetical. So if we consider that the chance of you changing the vote is zero, it's basically, do you give away something good for nothing? That would basically be the hypothetical in this penny case. And in the trash case, it will be, do you give away something negative for nothing? So like, I can see how that's a clear distinction between why you might want to answer like no compared to yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I've also got a second Martian hypothetical, where instead of, okay, so I basically try to scale the cost of the red button. So here's a hypothetical. The Martians come and press a button in their spaceship, which teleports every human into a white box. If they stay, they are trapped in the box as the pets of the Martians, but they have the opportunity to press a blue button to return to Earth, in which case they will return every human back to Earth and leave without changing anything, only if at least 50% of the people pressed the blue button. Do you need to repeat that? I think it might be a bit convoluted, but if you think that it's disanalogous to the question, please point out the disanalogy.
So in this case, the clicking the blue button is the opt-out button. It's trying to return things back to normal. Whereas in the original hypothetical, red is the opt-out button. I think that's the disanalogy.
So in this case, if you don't press, I was considering that like staying there and not doing anything as like the opt-out of. So basically, if you don't do anything, you stay as a pet for the Martians. They'll feed you and stuff, but you won't get any freedom. If you do press the blue button, so they will. Okay, maybe I didn't quite memorize like my hypothetical correct enough. I'm not sure if I said this earlier, but if 50%, at least 50% of the people press the blue button to return to Earth, the aliens will will return all the humans to Earth and leave without changing anything. But if less than 50% of people return to Earth, they'll blow up the Earth. I think I've got the blowing up the Earth part earlier. So basically, if less than 50% of the people press the blue button, everyone who pressed the blue button will get returned to Earth, and then Earth gets blown up, so they die.
I see. So I mean, in this case, if nobody presses the blue button, it's like, well, Earth might as well be blown up at this point because we're never going to be able to access it. And like, I mean, maybe there is. Are we like saying by like hypothetical fiat that like you're never breaking free of the Martians in any other way?
Yeah. So in the case where Earth gets blown up, the difference is whether you are on Earth when it blows up or not. So basically, pressing the red button means that you live your life alive, but as a pet for the Martians. Pressing the blue button means that you have a chance of either going back to the life you used to have, or you die because the Earth gets blown up.
And so yeah, so you're not breaking free of the Martians any other way. Yeah, it seems like the rational thing to do is try and achieve freedom. I mean, obviously you're not going to swing the vote still, But so yeah, no, sorry, everybody gets teleported back. You were saying.
If the blue button succeeds, everyone gets teleported
Okay,
back.
I see. Yeah, so then yeah, don't press the blue button.
Interesting. So what I'm trying to do with this hypothetical is basically scale up the cost of pressing the red button, i.e. doing nothing. So in the original button scenario, I don't think it's exactly like nothing happens. I don't think nothing happens is an accurate depiction of what pressing the red button does. It's basically the red button, it does nothing to you. It's not participate. You're not participating, right? But like it's not the same as if the button press never happened. Because if not enough people press the blue button, then all the blue buttoners die. So like almost 50% of humanity dies, and that will basically be an apocalypse, right? Like that will, so basically, blue button in this case is basically you have a chance to die, but also you have a chance to like if the blue button succeeds, then truly nothing happens. It's like the button question never happened. With the red button, it's like you have no risk to dying. You have no risk to like your own life, but you risk if you do survive. You risk an apocalypse happening, and this is an argument that I've seen some blue buttoners make, which is that if the red buttons are the majority, then I wouldn't want to live anyways, because it will be an apocalypse and like everyone dies. So I'm wondering, like, can you scale up that cost of the red button? Of like, okay, so instead of 50% of people dying, what if 50% of the people die, so like all the blue buttons die, but also a plague happens or like some other terrible thing happens to the red buttoners that live? Yeah, is that continuum, or do you think there's no principal difference in any side?
So I think the principal difference is that only the red people surviving. That's not like a direct cost being caused by clicking red. Whereas if you introduce like and then a plague sweeps in, well, that is caused by clicking red, where it wouldn't happen if you clicked blue. So that is introducing like a principal difference that, depending on what counts as a cost, I suppose. If you wanted to be really pedantic, taking opportunity cost to move your finger down on a button is also a cost. But I think we can bracket off that sort of cost from the cost being everybody gets their skin peeled once a month.
But I think I could like do you think that this changes the question fundamentally? If I make this alteration to the button question, where the blue button, the way that they die is that they explode in, let's say, a massive TNT explosion or something like that. I don't want to scale it all the way up to a nuclear explosion just yet, but let's say that if the blue buttons die, they die by exploding in a big explosion that would potentially harm red buttoners. Would that change anything at all? Does it matter how big the explosion actually is?
Well,
blue buttons are causing themselves to explode.
Well, if the explosion is big enough such that it kills red buttoners anyway, well then it's like, well, gee willikers, I guess I don't have, I just die. Like there's nothing. Then red is no longer you live.
So I guess okay. What if they just explode in a 2-meter radius? Everyone within 2 meters of a blue buttoner dies immediately. Would that change the question anyway? Do you think that is still analogous?
I don't think it's analogous because it's well, actually no. I think it is analogous because you don't want to turn into a bomb. I don't think it's a good idea to turn into a bomb and potentially kill people by exploding next to them. I think it's still rational to pick red, even if some suicide bomber next to you might blow you up. It's like, well, I gave it my best shot to survive.
Right. So let's say that if there is some people are starting a suicide pact of blowing themselves up, and if enough people join their suicide pact, none of them will get blown up. How about let's say this to make it more realistic. Let's say that there's a certain amount of like magical explosive powder that exists, and there's a cult that like controls them, right? That controls all of these explosive powders, and they are dividing it between themselves in basically small packets to light them together simultaneously to blow themselves up. But like, let's say that if it gets distributed enough, then the powder isn't enough to actually explode, and thus no one explodes. So it's basically the same question of like, if you join the suicide pact of blowing yourself up, if enough people do that, then no one gets blown up. But if there isn't enough people that join the pact, then all of these blue buttoners basically will they will suicide by blowing themselves up. So they are committing an aggression. But like, okay, yeah. So I guess that will be an issue in this case, right? if you join in, that you would be creating aggression too.
Mm.
What if we just like use a magical hypothetical where like somehow if you join this thing, it wouldn't be an aggression. But basically, if yeah, so do you think it's valid to just say, oh, okay, hypothetically, it is an aggression? Isn't an aggression to like just blow up?
It could be like the Martians again. They're going to use their targeting lasers, and they're going to target a certain number of people. And if you wave your hand and say, "Target me too," their targeting laser, it might blow up and damage other people. But if there's too many targets, then their computer system shorts out, and they just go, "Oh, grr, curse you obnoxious kids," or whatever they say in Scooby Doo. If it weren't for you meddling kids, and then they go home. Then yeah, I still think it's if somebody says target me, Martians, and then they start targeting it, it's like, okay, well, yeah, get the fuck away from that guy. Don't target me.
So it's a general principle that it doesn't depend on basically how bad it would be if the blue buttoners won out. I mean, okay, so you said earlier that if all the blue buttoners become nuclear bombs, then well, obviously, even if you're red buttoner, you die anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Which
it's like a hypothetical question. You die. What do you do? It's like, I don't know.
No, not necessarily. It's like I think that in that question, so in the case where the blue buttons turn into nuclear bombs and explode, there is a path forward to not dying, which is everyone, like at least 50% of people pressing the blue button, right? So if you're a red button and the blue button's been out, then yes, you do die as a red button.
Yeah, so I suppose in that case, then it does meaningfully change what's going on, because then it might as well say there's two buttons. If you click the red button, if less than 50% of people click the blue button, then everyone dies. If more than 50% click the blue button, then everyone lives. So then, yeah, click the blue button. Then it turns into like one of those scenarios from earlier where one of the other ones we were going over. I can't remember what the specifics were. Or I'm not noting it down.
So I got distracted by what you mentioned, and I thought of another hypothetical. So in the nuclear bomb example, like it's red's gonna die if it just depends on whether blue lives or not, and if blue loses, then red loses as well. So that's different. But what if instead of red is guaranteed death if the blue button's win, it's that every blue buttoner will die, and if for every blue buttoner that dies, they will take a red buttoner with them at random. So for the blue buttoners to die, it means that there needs to be less than 50% of people pressing blue and more than 50% of people pressing red, right? Which also means that there's going to be some amount of red people still alive. Blue means if blue loses, it's guaranteed death. If red loses, it's like you have a chance at living, but it's a probability.
So what would... I'm sorry, I wasn't following. What would it mean for red to lose in this situation?
Oh, basically, by lose, I just mean whether it's a minority or majority. I don't mean it as like victory, we won. So basically, same problem of like red button and blue button, except for every blue buttoner that dies, one red buttoner will die with them at random. That's the only modification.
Okay, so if red gets the majority, if red wins the vote, then a lot of red people are going to die anyway. Like some amount of them, depending on how many blues there were. If blue wins, then nobody dies. Yeah, so I think we have arrived at a continuum here. Because on the one end is the nuclear bomb example where if red wins, everyone dies. So you might as well pick blue to try and survive. Versus the other end, which is the original hypothetical where red guarantees survival and blue is maybe die. I think that's the continuum we're at here. And those are principally different, I think.
Okay. I've got a new idea that I want to explore, and hopefully